The Sava River is one of the best preserved lowland rivers in Europe. Although densely populated, the Sava floodplain is a vibrant, natural area, among the largest ones in Europe. The Sava flows through 4 countries: Slovenia, Croatia, Bosnia and Herzegovina, and Serbia. A large number of protected areas indicates exceptional natural significance. Up to 64% of its course and its floodplains are protected and represent a European biodiversity centre. Along the entire course, the Sava receives almost 250 tributaries. The right bank tributaries are much stronger than the left bank ones. At its source, the Sava is an alpine river. It originates in Slovenia by merging the Sava Dolinka and the Sava Bohinka headwaters. The Sava has a sizable longitudinal drop and a fast flow almost to Zagreb. It receives numerous streams and smaller rivers into its narrow riverbeds. Ljubljanica is one of them. It flows through Ljubljana, the capital of Slovenia. Unlike the upper course of the Sava, it is a slow river. The Ljubljanica springs near Vrnica, out of more than 10 karst springs. Before entering the city, it flows through the Ljubljana Marsh, a large swampy area protected as a landscape park. By the end of the last ice age, it was a large shallow lake that was gradually transformed to a wetland. Reclamation works in the 19th century to some extent drained the wetlands and reduced flooding. But nature still reigns, and this is an area of immense biodiversity. Here we can find wet meadows, swamps, bogs and other moist habitats. From Zeleni Most to Zagreb, the Sava is regulated mainly as a victim of economic development. Downstream from Zagreb, the Sava meanders again, surrounded by forests. Near Hrúštica, we can find many river islands and gravel bars, as well as steep banks. These habitats are important for many bird species. The common tern, the little tern, the common kingfisher, the sand martin, the little ringed plover and the common sandpiper nest here. Their presence is a sign of natural riverbanks. Humankind has always been close to nature. The best example is the village of Velešević, which originated near an oxbow lake. From Rugvica, the Sava becomes a large lowland river. We enter the middle stretch of the Sava River, a low floodplain area. The Sava floods its lowland here. The river spills mostly in the spring when the snow from the Alps and the Dinaric mountains melts. Due to the high water level of the Sava River, the smaller rivers that join it flow upstream, flooding the fields. Ljubljansko polje is a large floodplain area abundant with forests and meadows. The Sava flooded waters fill this area through the Sava Odra drainage channel and the return flow of the Kupa River. Wild and tamed nature melds, as well as the flood phase and the dry phase. The Posavina horses make up almost half of the domestic animals in this area. Together with cows and pigs, they graze on common pastures. The local grassland is, among other plants, decorated with snake's head fritillary and orchids, among other plants. The Lonjsko polje Nature Park is one of the largest and most protected floodplains in Europe. Every year, the waters of the Sava and its tributaries pour into the Lonjsko polje, Pogonovo polje and Mokro polje. When the floodwaters recede into the Sava riverbed, the local cattle freely graze on large communal pastures. In the spring, fish come to spawn in the floodplains. The Sava is a large spawning area with more than 45 species, of which 5 are endemic to the Danube basin. Near Jasenovac, the Una River flows into the Sava as one of its largest tributaries. Its lowland lower course resembles the Sava, but it is a karst river in its upper parts. It springs from the deep springs of the highland Lika region in Croatia. Still, it soon becomes a border river with Bosnia and Herzegovina. From there it flows down the wild valley strewn with high cliffs and screes. The greatest attraction of the area, waterfalls and cascades, is formed on the travertine barriers. At the entrance to Martin Brod, the river is crossed by its first large travertine barriers, forming waterfalls and cascades, rapids, side arms, as well as travertine caves. Squeezed along the canyon at the Una railway line's foot, there is the majestic Strabacki Buk, the highest waterfall on the Una River, 24.5 meters. The most beautiful part of the river is protected as the Una National Park. The park protects the extraordinary nature and is also the foundation of sustainable development for the residents. The Una National Park and its natural values attract more and more visitors each year, especially nature and recreation lovers worldwide. Upstream from the city of Bihać, the Una River flows through the territory of Bosnia and Herzegovina. In the lower course, it becomes a quieter, flatland river, and again, the border with Croatia up to the Sava. The Sava continues to flow through the agricultural landscape, along embankments, fields and villages. In the mountainous area of Bosnia and Herzegovina, the Vrbas, the Bosna and the Drina rivers spring. These rivers' mouths form wetlands, the most preserved ones being Tišina near Šamac and Gromezhil near Biljania. At the Bosna's confluence into the Sava, we can find the Tišina protected habitat. As one of the last wetlands in Posavina, but also in the whole of Bosnia and Herzegovina, it is an essential habitat for many living creatures. For birds, Tišina is an important area for their nesting, wintering, feeding and resting needs. At the Bosnian-Serbian border, the Sava receives the Drina and flows slowly to the Danube. The Sava provides significant natural values in Serbia as well. Near Sremska Mitrovica, Zasavica Special Nature Reserve is spread on 3,400 hectares. This wetland was created by the Drina and Sava rivers. Many rare species are distributed over 33 kilometers of Zasavica's course. Among the many local flora and fauna representatives, the carnivorous plant Aldrovanda is particularly worth mentioning here. For one of the critically endangered fish species, the mud minnow, Zasavica is one of the 3 remaining habitats in Serbia. In 2004, beavers were introduced to Zasavica from Germany. Over time, they have spread to almost the entire Machva region. We can also find the Valjevats pasture in the wet areas, where indigenous animals such as the Mangulitsa pig, Podolian cattle, the Balkan donkey and the mountain horse graze freely. Due to its exceptional natural resources, Zasavica is also becoming a tourist destination where people and nature live in harmony. Near Zasavica, there is another Sava Wetland, the largest in Serbia. A special nature reserve, Obecka Bara, is the remnant of Sava's abandoned riverbed called Potkovicka. Obecka Bara is also a Ramsar site, an internationally important wetland area, just like Zasavica and Lonjsko polje. It is the second oldest protected area in the world. Its protection dates back to 1874, 2 years after the Yellowstone National Park's designation in America. Obecka Bara is home to many plant and animal species that live in more than 30 different habitats. Its fauna includes 226 species of birds, 50 species of mammals, 13 species of amphibians, 11 species of reptiles and 16 species of fish. Its flora includes 500 species of plants, 50 species of moss, 180 species of fungi are found here. At the end of its journey, the Sava flows into the mighty Danube near Belgrade. The Sava is a river with 2 faces, one tamed, the other wild. In addition to natural areas, parts of the Sava are under pressure from regulation, navigation, hydroelectric power and urbanization. But nature itself threatens as well, admittedly thanks to humans. Namely, the threat is alien invasive species, introduced from remote corners by intentional or unintentional human exposure. They are now spreading at the expense of native species. They often cause health problems in people, such as allergies caused by the common ragweed. They also create problems in the economy. After logging, the false indigo bush often covers wooded areas before the natural oak trees can grow back. Invasive species are a significant concern for protecting biodiversity, which the Sava Park's network of protected areas has also recognized. Rivers are important pathways for the distribution of native species, but also invasive ones. Floods are spreading these species more deeply into their floodplains. To solve this problem, it is crucial to act at the international level, that is, throughout the Sava River catchment. Many measures are taken to prevent the further spread of invasive species and restore the habitat to its original state. One of the activities of the Sava Parks network is the Preserving Sava River Basin Habitats through Transnational Management of Invasive Alien Species project, Sava TIES. Various methods of controlling invasive plants are being tested in 7 pilot areas along the Sava River. The goal is to find the most efficient and the most cost-effective methods. In central Vojvodina, Lonjsko polje and Odransko polje, strong machines remove and grind the false indigo bushes above ground parts. Thus, these plants are mechanically destroyed. The false indigo bush occupies hectares of overgrown grassland here. It grows thickly in wet floodplain meadows and does not allow other native plants to reproduce. This is an impenetrable thicket up to 4 meters high. Numerous seeds of this plant tolerate moisture well and germinate in moist floodplain conditions. The seeds are very light and the water carries them far. Shoots from the roots also propagate the false indigo bush, so mechanical removal can only produce results if enough cattle are provided after the grassland is revived. Along with the false indigo bush, there are other invasive species in the area. Seeds of the rough cocklebur also spread across the floodplains and occupy the grasslands after the false indigo bush is removed. Goldenrods and the common milkweed are most frequently found along roads and on embankments. Goldenrods grow up to 2 meters in height, while the common milkweed is lower. This plant produces fruits of fine cotton-like threads, which are easily carried by the wind. And in Zagreb as well, a tractor grinds the dense assemblies of invasive species. The machine also penetrates the top layer of soil, breaking the roots. Workers manually collect the milkweed seeds to prevent them from spreading. The Japanese knotweed in the Unna National Park grows sporadically in groups, usually in wet and deserted areas. Its stems form a dense dark thicket up to 4 meters high in which few other plants can grow. It blooms in late summer and autumn. Its roots are deep and wide, so its removal is somewhat tricky. For this reason, national park workers combine removal methods, from mechanical to chemical treatment, depending on the habitat. On Ubdeska Barra, one oxbow was recovered with the removal of invasive vegetation. It has been dug and cleared by excavators. Still, nature will quickly heal itself and restore to its original splendor, as evidenced by previous experiences in bird monitoring. The Sava River and its surrounding natural areas are on their way to more sustainable use after decades of neglect. Stopping the spread of invasive alien plants is one step towards this goal. The Sava TIES project is of exceptional importance in this matter. The battle does not end here, though. Restoring sustainable pastoral agriculture allows wild species to live and enables a healthy diet for people unencumbered by pesticides and artificial fertilizers. If you want to preserve the beauty of the Sava, its tributaries, and its beautiful nature, help us prevent the spread of invasive species. Everyone can help prevent the spread of these species. Only the sustainable use of space can provide great biodiversity, but also human well-being. These are ecosystem services. Flooding restores the supply of underground drinking water. While standing in the floodplain, water is mechanically and biologically purified. Extensive floodplains store a vast amount of floodwater, which plays the role of flood protection. The Sava is an example of the coexistence of man and nature.